Hello, so today I am doing the mid-year book tag, looking at all of the books that I have read to the middle of the year. So let's just get straight into it. So this year thus far, I have read 278 books. I feel like that's probably a little bit more than normal, but that also includes a ton of DNFs. There are a lot of DNFs in that number, but that is how many books that I have logged so far. The first question is the best book you've read this year so far, and that is This Fatal Kiss by Alicia Jasinska. So this is a YA Slavic folklore retelling, and it centers around Rusalka or water nymphs. So they are women who have met violent ends and their vengeance keeps them tethered to the world, and they're meant to be responsible for luring men to their watery graves. In this one though, it is very queer friendly. The three main characters are all bisexual. There is definitely the promise of polyamory perhaps, although there is one coupling that I prefer over all the other possibilities. But it actually didn't bother me. It made sense for the threesome to be a threesome. So I really thoroughly enjoyed this. I wish it had been adult. That's literally the only complaint I have, and that perhaps there was a little bit of repetitiveness with reminding people that they're bisexual, and a bit of the foreshadowing was heavy-handed. But besides that, I absolutely adored this book. I think the cover is also stunning, and I had a really great time. So that is my favorite book of this year so far. The next question is the best sequel you've read so far this year, and I'm going with Just for the Summer. It's the third in a series, but I think you can pretty much read them as standalones, but I have read them as part of a series, and that's by Abby Jimenez, who is my absolute favorite contemporary romance author. Her novels are just so well done. The conflicts make sense. They all normally have some kind of real representation of some kind of issue. This one is mummy trauma, mummy issues, but they're also sweet and they have a little bit of magic in them. This one was a retake on Good Luck Chuck, in that the two main characters, whenever they break up with a partner, that partner then goes on to find the love of their life, and they're tired of always being the penultimate partner. They want to find their love of their life, so they decide to date each other to hopefully nullify their curse, and naturally they fall in love, and it's just incredibly sweet. All of the men in her stories are so thoughtful and considerate, and because acts of service is my main love language, it hits every time. And this is definitely an acts of service love book, so if that's your love language, you'll adore this. A beautiful girl. But I always have a fantastic time with any of her books, and this was definitely one of my favorite books in part of a series. The next question is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and for me it's The Bound World. So this is the third in the series of The Devoured Worlds by Megan O'Keefe. It's a sci-fi book. It's definitely got romance in it. The male protagonist in this, Tarquin, is a cinnamon roll who is obsessed with rocks, and I love him. He's amazing. He's also a bit of a prince of the galaxy kind of situation. It's a parasite sci-fi, and it's also one where you can be reprinted into bodies over and over, so your consciousness is uploaded. There's a lot of corporate greed, consumerism, just overall parasitic influence at play here, and I'm really enjoying my time with it. So I'm hoping the third book will deliver as much as the first two. The next question is biggest disappointment, and for me that's Poor Things, and I think it's due in part to the fact that I absolutely She's Catching Rainbows, love the movie. The movie was flawless, absolutely astounding in every way possible. And I think the book, there's just no way it could have lived up to it, and it didn't. I just found it very hard to read. It was confusing. And I liked some of the plot changes the movie made. And so in the book there, it felt a bit paltry in comparison and just not as sensical as the choices that obviously the screenwriter had made to adapt the book to a film. So therefore it was disappointing to me. The next question is, what was your biggest surprise? And that was A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck. This blew me away. I could not stop thinking about it for days and days and days afterwards. It is a sci-fi, I would also say horror. It's a psychological horror about a man who finds out he was worshipping the wrong god and has to go to hell. And his version of hell is that he has to find a book that has his life story in it. And the kicker is he's in pretty much the Library of Babel, which is every book that could ever be written exists there. And so think of it this way. There are books that only contain the letter A, books that only contain vowels, books that are written about an ant's perspective of the house you lived in. Every conceivable story ever to exist. And as I don't think our human minds are even capable of understanding the size of that library and the books that were in there and how futile it seems that you can actually get out of hell. In the beginning, he thought, oh, great, I will eventually get out of hell. All I have to do is find the book that's written about me. Will he get out of hell? Will he? I don't know. So it was fascinating and I'm really glad I stumbled across it. And that was just a Goodreads recommendation of a book that I never heard of before and that I found utterly fascinating, even though it was very bleak and depressing. So be warned. The next question is favourite new author. And for me, that's Olivia Atwater. So I just discovered her this year thanks to her book Small Miracles, which feels like a Good Omens versus The Good Place kind of book, which I loved. Anything to do with angels and demons and humour. Are you kidding me? I'm already a fan. I absolutely loved it. It was heartwarming and sweet and I loved her writing style. And then I continued to read on through her other books. I think it's Half a Soul, which was my favorite in that series. But I like her stuff. I think it's fantastic. There was a new release of hers too that I also read. I'll put it up here. The names, I think it's something about the knot at Witchwood Manor. But all of her books, 3.5 stars and up for me. Most of them are 5-star books. So I will read anything this lady puts out without a doubt. The next question is newest fictional crush, which I've already mentioned. If I had to pick one, it would be Tarquin, who I originally was introduced to in The Blighted Stars. I love him. He is adorable. I have a soft spot for tall, dark, handsome, quiet, nerdy, but romantic and intense men, I guess is what you would call it, with avid interests, like they're on the spectrum in some way. Mwah, I love it. Yes, please. Like, ooh, he gets me going, you know. I absolutely adored him and all the decisions he makes make sense to me and something that I would agree with. And literally, he has done nothing wrong. He is my cinnamon roll baby cakes and my current favorite fictional crush. Then it's what is your newest favorite character? And I've picked 2 because it was hard to decide. So I would say the Nameless Witch in The Nameless Witch. I have named her Rowan. I absolutely adore her. She's a cannibalistic witch. She's definitely morally grey. And I love her, and I love her love for all of her found family and her companions like Penelope the broomstick, Newt the demonic duck, and Gwyrm the troll. She's fantastic and a bit out of the ordinary. The other character that I really love from a book that I read this year was Hello Bluebell and Sylvie. The Yew Tree in A Monster Calls. Yeah, that is a heavy book. But I loved this monstrous yew tree and the wisdom they imparted and the love that they gave and compassion. So those are my 2 favorite characters from this year. The next question is a book that made you cry, and without a doubt that would be The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Kang. Oh my God, this book heavers centrally on grief and the hits keep coming and they don't stop coming. I was ugly crying from I think it's about halfway through the book onwards. So many tears. Sobbing my little heart out, my poor mother heart. And yeah, it was a good book. It wasn't amazing. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. It was just the romance let it down for me. But yeah, this hit me deep in my soul. And my face was a puffy, wet wreck afterwards. Next, we got a book that made you happy. And that's Oh, It's You, Poems by Cats Who Are Dicks. With lovely photography of cute kitties. This made me lol. I know probably everybody else thinks it's lame and uncool, but it was just funny. It was funny to me. I laughed. My kids didn't find it as funny. I guess you got to have a unique sense of humor for it. I don't know, but it definitely made me laugh out loud. I was guffawing my way through it. The next was the most beautiful book you acquired this year, and I bought actually a few books this year, but the most prettiest one and the one that I bought just because of the cover was Thunderhead. It is stunning. I should have had it in my hands. Hopefully the picture does it justice. But the cover has beautiful pearls. It's got gorgeous end papers. Even the foil stamping on the hardcover is stunning. So that's definitely my favorite book of the year in terms of its aesthetics that I purchased. And it is about a wife who has had enough and is trying to break free. The next question is, what book do you need to read by the end of the year? Rising Dawn. So this is the fourth and final book in the Guardians of the Maiden series by Beck Michaels. It says that it came out 2 months ago. Where? I can't find it anywhere. The author said, oh, the book's finally out, but I don't see it being sold, neither anywhere in Australia nor overseas. Amazon, nothing. Nowhere has it. So I don't know what's going on. I want to read the final installment. I read the first 3. My God, I have to read the 4th so I can complete it, but I don't know where to get it. So hopefully it becomes available at some point. The next question is a favorite video that you've made. I said this in another tag. It is the Måneskin video because it's about my favorite band and I get to listen to their songs when I watch it rather than just listen to myself prattle on. So that still remains the favorite video that I have made this year. The final question is content creators you've been loving. So I decided what I would do to pick these people. I've picked 10. Is I just picked the first 10 that I saw in my subscription list that had less than 1,000 followers, because they're the ones that should get a looky-loo to help increase their viewers. So I've gone, yeah, that's how I've picked these 10. It's just random in that way. And it's the only way that I can feel good about it, because otherwise it gives me anxiety choosing people. So let's just read. Like I said, this is just the first 10 that had less than 1,000. I think majority of the people that I watch and follow do have less than 1,000 followers, because I always try to find newbies starting out and give them some support. So I'm just going to list all the names, but I will put all of these content creators in the description box. So we have Erica, Grace Ellaby, Sweetly Sage, Book in Hand, Jenna, Athena, Celine, Uneasy A, Stephanie Michelle, and Aaron Honey. So I'll list them all below, but these were my choices for the mid-year book tag. Until next time, stay well, Star Child.